Welcome back to the Future Self podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. Two things I want to make today's conversation be. I want it to be a little catch up, and I want it to be talking about a very important topic that I've been exploring more and more recently, and that is how impactful the story we tell ourselves is. I'm back in Oz. Bali was not what I thought it was going to be. That was some of the most influential and impactful 3 weeks of my goddamn life. The idea I had when I was going over to Bali this time was film a lot of vlogs, do a lot of podcasts, train in the gym, and that was really it. A little bit of a reset after a good stint of work in the second third of the year leading into the end of year, enjoy myself, and then come back home. I ended up filming less vlogs than I wanted. I only filmed 1 podcast. Yet it still ended up being some of the most influential weeks in my life. I've had quite a few people ask me recently, Guy, how is life? And it's a really tricky and tough question to answer because my life at the moment is some of the most fruitful, expansive, and beautiful it's ever been. So I've been giving this analogy, and what I've been saying is that it feels like I had been chopping at a really large tree for a really long time. People's projections and comments, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Don't bother. It's going to take too long. What's the point? And finally, the tree has fallen. That's the best way I can explain it. I've been chopping at a tree for a long, long time, and finally, the tree has fallen. I am not ignorant to the fact that life has high and low periods. I am on a high period right now. I'm not sitting here stressing and preparing for the low. I'll just let it come when it comes. I'll deal with it when it arises, and I'll navigate it the best I can. But for now, I am on a high period in my life, and it feels really deserving. You guys know, because you're a frequent listener of the Future Self pod, a lot of my life I had navigated through self-resentment, self-hatred, and pressure. This is the first time I've really rewrote that story, and I'm not living life through those lenses or dynamics these days. It's a lot of self-love, a lot of self-backing, a lot of self-respect, and a lot of being curious and kind. Now I'm still doing relentless cardio stints, pushing myself in the gym, showing up more than I actually ever have before, but it's backed by a rocket fuel that is a totally different source. It used to be the rocket fuel of self-hatred. Now it's the rocket fuel of self-perception and wanting not only what's good for my future self, but also my current self too. This ties in a lot with the story we tell ourselves is so impactful. But I want to get to that in a minute. I want to explain a little bit about why those 3 weeks were so amazing to me and why life feels like I'm on such a high. For a really long time, I had told myself I was the black sheep. I'd fallen into that dynamic. I kept telling myself this story that wedged a lot of frictions and troubles in just my day-to-day experience and my reflective thoughts about certain scenarios. The old gym I used to work at, I felt like I'd lost all of what I'd built there and I wasn't welcome back anymore. I felt like people didn't understand me. I felt like I was being confused in the mission that I was trying to obtain compared to the way people thought of it. I felt like an outsider. I really just felt not welcome in my hometown of Wollongong. Not on a scale of I'm so important, I've been kicked out, but I just didn't feel like it was for me anymore, that I had fallen too far into this black sheep thing. I was so different to the majority. So I told myself these stories I couldn't walk down my hometown without getting crippling anxiety. I started online grocery shopping because I was just so stressed and worried about running into people and being seen. I just built this story. So I stopped training at the old gym. I stopped talking to people from my past. Now, that's been an 18-month long journey. That hasn't been the 3 weeks in Bali, but I really, really understood the story we tell ourselves is so goddamn impactful. So I went to Bali and there's a few amazing things. I met new amazing people. I had amazing conversations. I faced my greatest fucking fear. Now, on the secondary add-on to the Future Self channel, I did a full vlog breakdown of that. And that was a very significant and pivotal moment in my life so far. At 24 years old, it's probably the greatest thing I've ever done. And as I mentioned in that vlog, it's the first time as an adult I've actually been proud of myself. I know I've done great things and cool things, but it's the first time on a genuine level that I felt proud of me. That jump was so much more than facing my biggest crippling fear of heights. It was letting go of the past. It was a very fruitful reflection of all this work it had taken to get to where I am. And that's what allowed that jump to happen. It was shedding things off my back. I'm really in a period of life right now where the backpack I was wearing was just too heavy. I was sick of carrying it on my back. So I've really been trying to unload the backpack that I carry, rekindle past things, let go of people that had done wrong by me, move on, stop identifying through this bullshit black sheep story and this crap I'd been telling myself for the last 12 months. And life feels really weightless at the moment. I finally hit 10K followers on Instagram, which was a goal I set in 2021. There was a 2021 goal board I had of 15 goals and I achieved 14 and not that. And then I was stuck at 8K for maybe 2 years. And I just started thinking, why everyone else and not me? And it's a bit of a big milestone for me. You know, I'm very consistent. I try and put out a lot of value and try and help a lot of people. And it's really special for me to have the 10K aspect of 10K people tuning into me and my mission. That was a big one. Facing my fear was so monumental. Meeting new people was so special and just a real eye-opener to how I want life to be. Now, I've talked about this before in the podcast. You got to tip the scales either side. If you're an intensive party person, you've got to go real sober and real straight arrow to then balance it in the middle. And I feel like I'm really coming into the middle of so many things, and that is special. I wrote a post about it on my social media. My life compared to most in this world is I'm fucking so fortunate and lucky. But that doesn't take away that I've adjusted to certain types of hard. And my hard might be someone's dream, but it's still hard in my life because that's the day-to-day experience of this standard of fortunate that I have been put in. I felt like I went through really tough 12 months. Projections, opinions, comments, being misrepresented, burdenized for things that weren't necessarily true. And I am so grateful for it because I feel like I've come out on top. And it's not about being a competition or winning against other people, but what I was burdenized for and highlighted as having lacking traits have now become my strongest traits and personality factors. And it's important I share this because it was a choice. It wasn't a byproduct. When you're labeled and painted as something, you can fall deeper into that, or you can, for your own self, resurrect it and work on it. You know, you're not forced into any scenario where who you are moving forwards is just a result of something. You have a choice in the person you are and the way you navigate things. And I am so fucking proud of how I've navigated the last 12 months of my life because I've turned a lot of my flaws and struggles into strong points. And it's special now because when I meet new people, new friends, they're getting the best version I've ever been. And that to me is so light as an experience and so rewarding. I wasn't always the easiest roommate. I wasn't always the best brother. I wasn't always the most available son. I wasn't the easiest partner for my past partners, but I always tried my fucking best. And that's what I've held on to. Yeah, I've played a toxic role and I've played a mean role. And I definitely, in hindsight now, could have done things better, but I've never navigated my life through malice intent to hurt someone or to ruin something or to fuck something up. So I hold a lot of special love and care for that version of me because he was doing the best he could. Now, with what I know now, I could have done better or I would have done different if the version I am now was back then. But I always did the best I could. And as I mentioned before, the tree's fallen because the best I could has finally been understood. It's been fine-tuned and it's been progressed. In life now, I feel so driven, so motivated, so purposeful, but also very calm, very confident, very self-backing. Going back to my old gym was actually a really big deal for me. I'm a confident kid and I don't get anxious in those settings, but I didn't feel welcomed. And I was anxious the first time I went, only to realize it wasn't that big of a deal. I messaged my first ever gym owner boss and we didn't end on great terms. I was a young 17-year-old kid at the time. And I just said, hey, I want to come back. I want to train. Am I welcome to? Yeah, you're welcome to. That, again, another thing just off my back. Certain people being fucked over, certain things off my back. I'm just really unloading this backpack. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going around with relentless forgiveness and acceptance, but it's just not carrying it anymore. It's not carrying it anymore. I'm the fittest I've ever felt. I look the best I've ever looked. I have the strongest relationships with my sisters, my mother, and my stepdad. Relationships with my friends are amazing. Work is so special. I'm working with some of the most elite, amazing clients that are really trying hard. I feel so grateful because again, the tree's just fallen and it's a really nice experience because for so long, just chop, chop, chop. I've been really chopping at it. Now, pulling it into the actual topic of the potty of what I wanted to talk today, the story we tell ourselves is so impactful. I've been using this analogy and example a lot recently. For 19 years, I'm 24. I wasn't going around saying I was scared of heights when I was 5. So for 19 years, I had been telling myself a story. I was petrified of heights. I was terrified. And I was. It is a reality. I remember when I climbed the Harbour Bridge as a young kid and I burst out into tears in this one area where the stairs are see-through and you've got to walk up. So I had a very crippling fear of heights. It came from my childhood when I almost got blown off a cliff. I almost slipped, which was high, and I could have died if I didn't get caught. So it started from that. And then from there, my fear of heights just got worse and worse. So for 19 years, I was telling myself I was terrified of heights. I did a bungee jump, 130 meters, 2 weeks ago now. I was the one that had to walk on the ledge and choose to step off. It took 15 seconds to rewrite a story I had told myself for 19 fucking years. 15 seconds. A story I had told myself 365 days of a year for 19 years straight took all of 15 seconds to completely rewrite my relationship and my perspective on that scenario. Heights don't feel like anything to me now. I would skydive. I really want to bungee jump again because of the feeling of self-trust that I felt in that moment was unlike anything I can even explain to you. 15 seconds from 19 years. I told myself this story. I wasn't welcome back at my old gym. People didn't like me. I shouldn't go there. I'm not allowed to go there for 18 months. It took 30 seconds to rewrite that story. 30 seconds. It baffles me and blows my mind how we can just convince ourselves so strongly of something that takes such a short time to rewire your relationship, repair, build. Now, the time difference, the 15 seconds it took to face my biggest fear, heights, disgusting, uncomfortable, gross, terrifying. It was a very fucking intense moment. So the 15 seconds was probably some of the hardest 15 seconds I've ever experienced in my life. But it's 15 seconds. Count to 5 3 times, it's done. No matter how hard that felt, 15 seconds. I know clients and people, gym members from the past that had been cheated on when they were 19 and they had held on to that story until they were 45, still single, protecting themselves. 26 years worth of a story they had told themselves had voided 26 years of potential experience of magic. 26 years of potentially building one of the most special things in their life. Because they told themselves this story from an experience they had and they built on it and built on it and built on it. What you tell yourself is who you are. I've never ever been a look in the mirror and say positive words of affirmation. I am strong. I am capable. I think that's fucking shit. I think it's fluff. You need to stack your resume. You need evidence as to why you are what you say you are. But unfortunately, in the reverse of the negatives and the downplays and the downgrading, it works just as that. If I was to look in the mirror every day and say I'm a piece of shit, unfortunately, the negative doesn't work like the positive. So I would start to either act as or feel like a piece of shit. Because the words we speak dictate who we are and our life. This is why when people joke about themselves, oh, I'm just that fat fuck, or I'm just a fucking idiot, or I'm stupid, I always bring them up. Mainly clients, because they're the ones I work with intimately one-to-one. I always bring them up, even if it's just a few words. It's not what you do, it's why you do it. And the outcomes of why you're doing it really alter your life. The words you speak, the story you tell is who you are and the life you live. 19 years, story I told, 15 seconds to break. 18 months, a story I told, 30 seconds to break. I have clients who have had really troubling childhoods. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say drop it and forget about it and tell yourself a good story because it doesn't work that way. But the more you tell yourself a story, that is the life you are going to live. So if you're willing to live a life that's attached to that story, that's a choice you're making. I've had clients who have been with narcissistic men and women in the past, male and female clients, and they live their life through that experience. Something I've been saying quite a lot recently to my clients who have had a pretty rough experience either in the past or past relationship or period of their life is the thoughts you think now served you once. They protected you once. It was useful, but it's not useful anymore. It's actually ruining your life. What once protected you, I can't meet new people in case I become heartbroken. That used to protect you and keep you safe. That same thought now from 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, it's ruining your life. It's actually damaging you. It's hurting you. The 40-year-old alcoholic down at the pub has been living a story the last 20 years. Maybe they had a divorce, they lost their job, or something really bad happened to them. But it's a story they've held on to for 20 to 25 years, and that is why they are the way they are. I see it in adults so deeply. Parents, older individuals, grandparents. The way they are today, of course, is from what they have been through, but it's mostly from the story they have been saying to themselves. So they miss opportunities, or they look for opportunities, or they avoid bad things, or they lean into bad things because of the story that they tell themselves. Now, I'm really, really going in deep at the moment in my own life on this story. And I'm just trying to reflect on where do I intensely tell myself a certain story that it's not actually applicable? It doesn't serve me, it doesn't benefit me, or it's just something I've been telling myself. Now, let's not misconstrue the fact that I'm not saying a story is in a fantasy or a fake reality. I'm saying a repeat of probably or potentially something real, but what I tie to it. It's like when someone says I'm stressed, they blanket statement everything. I'm stressed, a big blanket. It's who I am. I'm stressed. But anytime I've met an individual such as that and I ask them the question, oh, what stresses you out? Oh, I'm just stressed at work. Oh, okay. What at work stresses you? Well, just the pressure that this one person puts on me. Oh, okay. Well, why do they put pressure on you? Well, they just expect a lot of me. So again, it's the same thing of onion peeling. You ask enough questions, you get to the core of what it is. From this big blanket statement of I'm stressed to an actual pinpoint of just there's one person at work that stresses me out. I'm stressed at work from this one person. So this big blanket strips down to a thread. And that's what ties in with this story, right? I maybe had a handful of experiences of feeling like a black sheep. So I started telling myself this story. I am a black sheep. I don't fit in. I don't belong here. I'm so different. People don't get me. I don't relate. It's like, no, wait a second. Where did this come from? Let's strip it from a blanket to a thread. Okay, well, one person didn't understand this one experience I had. Okay. Another person didn't actually understand the future self way of living. Okay. Another person didn't agree. 3 people. And I'm blanket statement covering who I am. So 3 little scenarios, and I'm sure there was more, but just for the analogy's sake, 3 little scenarios, and I'm now saying I am a black sheep. So then that's a story I tell myself. So then I start to pathway more black sheep-like experiences and I start to look for it. And then I isolate and I don't speak to people and it builds the story even more. So then I feel like even more of a black sheep. And then I really attach certain thoughts people don't understand and it builds and adds and adds and adds to this story. So yeah, it was valid. I went through an experience of feeling misunderstood. That's fair. But then I blanketed the statement and I added to it, compiled to it. And for 18 months, I built and built and built to this story. It took 30 seconds to rewrite that whole story. 30 seconds. Walking in my old gym, doing the class, head up high, feeling good. Now, it took a lot to get there because I needed to back myself. I needed to have a progressed self-perception. I needed to flush out some of my negative traits or ways I used to approach things. But 30 seconds. And that's what's really been blowing my mind at the moment. Certain stories I hear from clients or those around me, members of the gym, friends, family, they navigate their whole life through a story that their blanket statement telling themselves. So what protected me at a point in time? I protected myself. I feel like a black sheep. People don't get me. I could give a little label and a little experience in that area. And what protected me once now was a detriment to my life. So I started isolating, stopped hanging out with people. I stopped spending time because I just blanket statement that I was misunderstood. The story we tell ourselves is who we are and how we live. I'm not confident. Yeah, you're not going to be confident. I'm anxious. Yeah, you're going to be anxious. These real factual, I call it speaking in absolutes. I'm anxious. It's like, no, let's break it down. Where do you feel anxious? Oh, I feel anxious in the morning. Okay. Why in the morning? Well, I always wake up with a really big to-do list. Okay. I wake up with a really big to-do list because I didn't actually do anything the day before. So it's like you're anxious about one part of your life, but you blanket statement this story, I'm an anxious person. So then, yeah, you're going to feel anxiety more. You're going to fucking focus on your heart flutters when it's probably just a normal thing. If your palms start sweating, you're going to tie it to this anxiety. You're going to build and build and build and add this Add to this story you're telling yourself. And then you'll live life as an anxious person. You'll attach anxious friends. You'll build a relationship on this identity of being anxious. You'll probably take a job that serves the anxious story. This is where you add and add and add. And like the stepping stone method is a progressive tool to help someone, it can also be a regressive tool if you do it the other way. What starts as one small thing, we add another, we add another, we add another. And then weeks, months, or years down the line, you haven't really noticed because it's been small bits at a time. But then when you reflect back, it's like, holy shit, it's a mountain of stones, stepping stones that I have now put together. It's not easy to call yourself out, and it's really not easy to be aware of the story you tell yourself. But I really hope from this episode, maybe it's a bit of a wake-up call, maybe it's a bit of a reality check that can lead to some change. Because I'm sure you're now reflecting on it, the person that identifies, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm worried, I lack here. And it's even maybe a story you're telling yourself, you didn't thrive in high school, so then you're not thriving as an adult because you've held on to that story and you've built it. Again, what served you as a protection at a point in time in the past is probably detrimental and could be really damaging you now. I have a lot of passion for the pod. I have a lot of passion. I really love doing it. Life's changed a lot for me recently. I've started a presentation business. Social media's started taking off for me. The pod is my passion and I love doing it and I won't stop doing it. I won't stop doing it. I'm excited to see where it goes because I don't know where it now goes. I had this really clear picture of it has to be this and it has to get there. And I think I'm really just going to go with the flow. If you resonate with this conversation, how special for me and for you. If you don't, that's okay. I'm not in it for the views as much as I once was or the subscribers or going viral. If fucking 20 people tune into this episode and it changes 5 of those lives, that is so special to me. I mentioned on the last pod or two, I've been struggling to find people that I'm interested in talking to. And that's why I got one episode in Bali, which was even a run back episode with not a new guest. It's really hard to find people that aren't fake or inauthentic or that I just care to listen to. Doesn't mean I'm not going to stop trying. It doesn't mean I'm not going to stop exploring. But if you have someone you're interested in or you would like to have on the pod, let me know. Comment it, send me a message. My socials are linked in the bio. I would love to explore those people. There are some people on my radar. Podcast is similar to a coaching call session I have with my clients. Like we'll talk about one idea and really explore it. Maybe it is significant at the time, maybe it isn't. But then that seed's planted and in X amount of weeks or months, it's like, wow, what I learned back then has actually impacted my life. Or I'm really diving into this topic I heard of a few weeks ago. I'm back in Oz for a little bit. I don't know what I'm doing next year. It's been so special living a life where it's not having to be this, this, and this. I've been really practicing that. I've been really trying to not be so I still have goals, ambitions. I still work like a fucking dog. I have a great work-life balance. I still show up, details, 1%ers, all that stuff. I thrive off it. I love it. But life's just cool at the moment. And it feels really light. It feels really special. My mum's getting married to my stepdad this coming week, which is so wild to think. My stepdad's now been in my life longer than my actual father. So my stepdad is way more of my dad than what my actual dad is or was, which is so wild to think. So special for my mum to be able to have a second shot at love, feel the connection deep enough to want to get married. And I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for us. Life's cool. Life's special. I'm doing my thing, training hard, working harder, trying to inspire. Can't wait for this presentation business to really take off. Yeah, it's fucking cool. And if you're struggling in your life, remember, like I said at the very start of the episode, there's highs and lows. You're in a low right now. You'll come out to a high. But remember, when you're in the low, you can be the one that can pile on the shit even more and make the low stay longer. So don't do that to yourself. Do the right things. Do what you know is going to be beneficial for you, no matter how tired or hard it is to do. Doing hard things brings good things for your life. We are forwards living creatures. We know we're going to be around tomorrow. So make sure you do something today or this week for the version of you, for your future self. That's the latest episode. I appreciate you guys so much. And I will fucking see you next week.